If I had to describe the Akatsuki in one sentence, it would be peace through violence. Throughout the long history of the Akatsuki, the one goal of this group has been to bring peace to the world. In the beginning, the methods of the Akatsuki were more peace through peace, but as time went on, their methods switched to peace through violence. And finally, a means to an end. In this video, we will be looking at this group of unique and interesting individuals as we analyze the Akatsuki. Hedon is among the few members of the Akatsuki that I would classify as being evil. His religion, Joshinism, demands the killing and destruction of others. This is why he is one of the few members that is evil. Most of the other members of the Akatsuki kill in order to achieve some higher peaceful goal, but not Hedon. Hedon lives to torture others and bring about destruction. This view, ironically, is in contradiction to the Akatsuki, as they want to achieve peace. To further cement this contradiction to the message of the Akatsuki, he often boasts that he will one day kill pain. Hedon is an immortal killing machine, which is what the Akatsuki is fighting against. It's likely that if the Akatsuki wanted to achieve true peace, they would have to kill Hedon. Kakuzo is a simple man. He can be described in one word: greed. Kakuzo's main concern is money. He will often only take part in a mission if it involves money, or he can gain a lot of money from it. Much like Hedon, he seems less concerned with the Akatsuki's goals. Although he follows orders, he will abandon them if he gets angry, as he even has been known to kill his partners and harvest their hearts for his jutsu. Kakuzo is another member of the Akatsuki that I would describe as evil. He clearly cares little for others and is only concerned about himself and money. I think that with all that being said, he truly symbolizes the criminal side of the Akatsuki. What makes Deidara such an interesting character is his ideas of art. Most of us think that art is eternal. Even Sasori thinks this. And to some extent, it is. We have books, movies, and paintings that are hundreds, even thousands of years old. But Deidara has a different view on art. Deidara thinks that art is an explosion that should only last for a moment. What is interesting is while art may be eternal, the artist isn't. The artist will only last for a moment, while their works will live on. I think Deidara symbolizes the human finite side of art. I think that he thinks that since human life is so finite, art should be the same way. Ironically, though, we will be analyzing his words for eternity. Sasori is the opposite of Deidara. Deidara believes that art is finite and should only last for a short time. Sasori, on the other hand, believes that art is eternal. But Sasori came to this conclusion because of what happened to his parents and what it caused him to do. Sasori lost both of his parents when he was very young and attempted to recreate them as puppets. This taught Sasori a very powerful lesson: life is short. This, combined with his time with Orochimaru, led Sasori to making himself a puppet. To him, puppets are eternal and a form of art. They can be improved upon and made into whatever you want them to be. Humans are not the same way. We are finite, and it takes us a very long time to improve ourselves. And even when we do, we die in the end, thus making all of our efforts to improve upon ourselves pointless. And this is why Sasori abandoned his flesh and replaced it with wood and steel. He became the eternal art that he was talking about with Deidara. But ironically, though, he still had to have a heart. Without this heart, he would be unable to perform jutsu. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't completely abandon what made him human. He couldn't truly achieve immortality. This is what led to his death. He was destroyed by flesh because of his flesh, and thus his effort to become immortal, pointless. But when Kankuro explained that his creations shall live on forever, Sasori could die, knowing that at least something of his shall be immortal. Kisami led a dual life. On the one hand, he was a shinobi of the mist, fighting and killing in order to protect his country and friends. But on the other hand, he was an enemy of the mist. Due to the nature of his missions, he often had to kill his comrades, thus meaning he was no better than a shinobi from another village. In a way, leading a life of lies. This made Kisami question who he truly was and where he was going. He saw himself as a horrible person who merely killed his comrades. That is, until he joined the Akatsuki. The Akatsuki removed all the lies from his life. He would no longer be sent on missions where he would have to kill comrades, and instead could make comrades. When Kisami first met Itachi, Itachi said that when someone is about to die, their true character is revealed. This idea applies to Kisami. He sacrificed himself so that no one would learn of the true identity of Tobi, or of his true plans. Kisami went from killing his comrades to dying for them, thus revealing that in the end, he did truly care about the well-being of his comrades, and was not a horrible person. Itachi is a man shrouded in mystery. In the beginning, we think of him only as an enemy, but as time goes on, we start to see him as a good guy. Our opinion of Itachi largely surrounds the slaughter of the Uchiha, but in order to understand this, we must understand what a village is. Before villages were created, there was just war, clans fighting each other, children dying, and all for no real purpose. That was until villages were created. Villages finally allowed for clans to live in peace with one another and for children to stop dying. People could live in peace. It took some time, but Itachi would eventually learn how important a village is and why it needs protection from the death he saw. He went to the battlefields of the Fourth Great Ninja War and saw firsthand how easily life can be lost. This made Itachi question what the true meaning of life is, and for a while he thought life was pointless. That was until his little brother Sasuke was born. Sasuke helped Itachi realize that life does have meaning, and it gave him a face to protect. All of this contributed to his decision to kill his clan. When his clan started to make plans to revolt against the Leaf, Itachi had two decisions. He could let his clan revolt, and if they succeeded, we must understand what a village is. The other clans and villages may not like the leadership change, there was just and could revolt. Clans fighting each other, clans to fight children again, dying, and all for no real purpose. The clan could fail in their revolt until villages were arrested. Itachi finally allowed as the sole member of the Uchiha to live in peace with one another, and for children to stop dying. But there was a way to prevent all this needless death. He could kill his entire clan. There would be no revolt, and the village would remain safe, but Itachi would have to deal with being a rogue ninja and the pain of killing his clan. And we all know what his decision was. But in his massacre, there was one person he could not kill, his little brother Sasuke. Sasuke was the person who gave his life purpose, and he loved him dearly. So he gave him purpose of killing him, so that the truth may never come out. Itachi then joined the Akatsuki and made sure to keep a close eye on Sasuke and the village. I think what is the saddest thing about Itachi is what he realized just before his second death. He realized that if he had told Sasuke about what was going on, he could have prevented the massacre. But even with everything that he had done, and all the mistakes that he had made, he made sure to say, "I love you," to his little brother. Konan has always been a follower in the Akatsuki. Being one of the founding members of the Akatsuki, she's always followed the lead of Yahiko or Nagato. When the Akatsuki wanted peace by peaceful means, she believed this and tried to uphold these values. But after Yahiko's death, she would follow in Nagato's path and seek peace through violence. That is, until Nagato's death. After Nagato sacrificed himself this was the first time Konan was ever alone. Even though she was finally alone and free to do whatever she wanted to, she decided to follow in what Nagato believed and put faith in Naruto and leave the Akatsuki, vowing to protect the Rinnegan. Sadly, though, she would pay the price for her noble actions. And much like she had done before, she would follow Nagato and Yahiko to the grave. Nagato is the fallen angel of the Akatsuki. In the beginning, he sought to use the pain he had experienced to bring peace to the shinobi world. Him, Konan, and Yahiko all used the pain that they had experienced to bring peace, but they sought this peace by not killing others. In the world of shinobi, extending a hand out to your enemy and not killing them basically equates to heresy, but this group managed to achieve much success with this method. Everything was going well until Yahiko died. Yahiko's death hurt Nagato, and he realized that his non-killing ways would not suffice anymore, and he would have to resort to killing and destruction in order to achieve world peace and finally end the cycle of hatred. Jiraiya once said that the Rinnegan can bring salvation or destruction to the world, and at this point in time, Pain sought destruction rather than salvation. But even though he had fallen, Pain still fought for peace. He still wanted to achieve the dream Yahiko and Jiraiya had, but in a different manner. But when Pain talked to Naruto, it made him realize just how far he had fallen. Pain realized that he was no different than the villagers fighting and killing in the land he had called his home. He realized that he had let down Jiraiya and Yahiko, so he resolved to sacrifice himself so that the world may live on. He had finally used the Rinnegan to bring salvation. Sadly, though, people would take advantage of his death and steal his Rinnegan. But even if it was for a short time, Nagato was able to end the world's pain. Zetsu is both the puppet and puppeteer. At first, he seems like just a tool for the Akatsuki. He cleans up the messes of the Akatsuki, helps them seal the tailed beasts. White Zetsu was used for the army for the Akatsuki, and Zetsu would offer to carry out heavy combat missions for the Akatsuki, but he would always be turned down. To the Akatsuki, he was nothing more than a puppet, meant to carry out their dirty work. When we find out the true origins of Zetsu, he is still painted in the light of being a tool, as he was merely created by Madara on a whim. That is, until he betrays Madara. Suddenly, the puppet is the puppeteer. Zetsu reveals that he was the one influencing the Akatsuki all this time. The peace that the Akatsuki wanted to achieve was just a fabrication. The true purpose of the Akatsuki was to revive Zetsu's mother, Kaguya. Zetsu really makes you wonder, who was the true leader of the Akatsuki? Obito is perhaps the saddest member of the Akatsuki. Much like Nagato, Obito was a fallen angel. Before the accident that caused him to lose everything, he was a kind, helpful person who wanted to be the Hokage, end the war, and protect his friends. But after the accident that caused him to sustain serious injuries, and the death of Rin, Obito lost who he was. He hated the world of shinobi and became Madara. That helpful little boy who would do anything to help anyone was no more. All that was left was a man filled with despair who chose to exist as someone else. First, it was Madara, then Toby, and finally, no one. Obito had completely abandoned who he was, but deep down, he still wanted to return to being Obito. Deep down, he had regrets about the path he had chosen. Deep down, he wanted to be the Hokage. But he suppressed these feelings. That is, until Naruto reminded him of who he truly was. Obito saw himself in Naruto. Naruto also made Obito realize one other thing. Rin would not want to meet the current Obito. Obito's main motivation throughout this time was Rin's death, and he had thought that he was fighting to avenge and bring change to the world that Rin would have liked to see. But Obito realized that Rin would want nothing to do with the current Obito. With these two things circling the mind of Obito, he finally decided to go back to his old self, the self that would help others. In the end, he sacrificed himself, not as Tobi, not as Madara, but as Obito Uchiha. Hedon, Kakuzo, Deidara, Sasori, Kisami, Itachi, Konan, Nagato, Zetsu, and Obito. These are the unique individuals that make up what we know as the Akatsuki. These people shall forever live on in our minds. And no matter who lives, dies, or leaves the Akatsuki, the goal of this group shall forever be peace.